Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PS Don't Tell podcast, where we're going to talk to you about everything under the sun. Life, goals, advice, would you rather is my game for today. But before we get into all that, let me introduce my co-host, Miss Stephanie.
Why, hello, Pam. Welcome to our sleepover.
I'm so excited to get started with you. I thought as an introduction to who we are, we could both maybe say a little bit about why we think this platform is what brought us here. Why are we sitting here today?
I feel you. I agree. So, of course, you and I go back years and years. We met in high school, and the rest is history.
100% friendship ever since, because I don't even know if we should tell the story right off the bat, but I had dagger eyes for you in middle school because we had done like an in-school Halloween costume thing. And I had overheard Stephanie being like, I should have won. And honestly, like, if we're gonna be real about it, she probably should have.
Amen.
But my class did win. So I was like, screw you, loser.
I think it's good that we start off our audience with the base layer of knowledge. Originally, Pam hated Steph. Let's start there.
She loved Steph.
Yes, we had what I like to imagine was some sort of cosmic universe bending connection that has remained unbroken ever since. And that was, Pam, I'm sorry to say, next year, that will be 20 years ago. Oh my God.
Like, it can't be 10 years ago because we graduated high school 10 years ago.
Oh no. 20 years ago. Wow. Coming up on 20 years of friendship, Pam.
That's crazy. I mean, more power to us, you know?
Seriously. So now you and I live a country away where I am a classic failure to launch story. And I still live in my parents' house in New York, and you, jet-setting, adventurous, ambitious, flew yourself off to Alaska and never looked my way again.
I would like to disagree that I do look your way all the time.
Okay, fair. We're still best friends. I'll give you that one.
But yes, I have drifted off into the sunset to become an Alaskan homesteader.
There's something beautiful, I think, Pam, about our friendship dynamic that is like we're living these two like extremely different paths, right? Where you found your husband in Alaska after like solo traveling the country and the world, and then you moved there and you guys built a house and you have your dogs and you're got this life ahead of you. And I'm like, I'm figuring it out, man.
But you're about to take off in your car. And I feel like you've been through so much. Like, we've both been through a ton to have got us to where we are. But you just kind of like reverted back to your safe space at home. And I've like built the safe space in Alaska, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't mean to be so super self-deprecating. I definitely feel good about my path and where it will take me next. But Pam, one of those paths is here to this podcast where we're hanging out.
Yes, and we want to have a community where we can chat across the globe about things that are affecting us in our daily lives and just like have a chat about it, have a sleepover, get together and release our tension and, you know.
Yeah. Well, Pam, I hear you have, as we've kind of been formulating the format of our show, you've put together some things for me, and I would love to be presenting your things.
So the first thing I'm going to ask you, so I have a bunch of would you rather questions, and I made these up, so don't be mean to me about them. But I have different categories here. So you can choose from the categories, and then we can go into what they actually are. So I have dream, like this is two good things that you have to choose between. Nightmare, two terrible things that you have to choose between. Practical, like two, like, what are you going to choose in more of like a practical sense? And then irritating, things that just like get under your skin. Which one are you going to go to?
Okay.
So what category are you thinking?
Okay, so I don't know what this says about me, but I'm first very immediately drawn to nightmare. Give me
Okay.
the worst of the worst right off the bat.
All right. So here's my first nightmare. Would you rather wake up and speak a language no one understands, or wake up and everyone else is speaking a language you do not understand?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Definitely two nightmare scenarios in that, wow, very isolating either way. I have a follow-up question, Pam. If no one can understand me when I'm talking, can I write in English still?
So they can't understand your writing, but they can understand like symbols, facial expressions, charades.
Okay. Okay. So I think the less isolating option is no one understanding me because at least I'm getting an input of what they're thinking. I can kind of figure out ways to charades for the people around me. But if it was the other way around and they could understand me, but I could not understand anyone else, I think that makes it harder to get through your day to day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
No, I totally
choose
agree.
to not be understood. And this is making me think. So Pam, I know you know I'm on this like Spanish learning journey. I'm trying really hard to
Okay.
learn Spanish. And I'm almost in that scenario when I talk to my coworkers because I have when people speak Spanish slowly to me, I have a vague understanding of what they mean.
Hmm.
Lots of times when I'm trying to communicate with them, it's a different story.
So I have this thing with languages where like I can speak a bunch of different like easy to say phrases in a bunch of
Mhm.
different languages, but then people will be like, "Oh, you speak my language and talk to me."
Mm.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, no. No. See, I didn't get any of what you just said."
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Pam. When I went to Spain this past January, I had this where I kind of assume that when I speak my broken Spanish, the people I'm speaking to can understand that I don't actually speak Spanish. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do. I have that feeling they must know from the way that I'm speaking that I don't have a grasp on this.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're either very kind or just very confident in me. And I just, yeah,
Like,
sometimes I was,
don't actually treat me like I'm capable of doing things right now.
yeah,
Just
please.
assume lowest common denominator. She can't do it.
I don't know anything about Americans abroad. Don't treat me like a competent person. Anyway,
Okay,
hit me with
so
another one.
I think that was a good one. Do you want to change categories or stay in the same category?
Okay, let's change categories. I want to save a dream. I want to save dream category for a little later. So hit me
Okay.
with irritating.
All right, let's do the first irritated. I think I might have used this one on you before, but this is a new location. I
Yeah.
think it might be slightly different.
I'm a
So
different
I
person
want to
than
see
was
what you
3
have
days
to
ago.
say.
Yeah.
Would you rather have constantly damp socks or a bra that straps keep falling down?
Oh no. Oh no, it's an impossible one. Okay. So, wet feet are a sensory nightmare.
Yeah.
And when I listen, lore drops left and right here on our very first episode. When I was studying abroad in London, not in London, in England, the same semester you were also studying abroad in England, I walked around that country with wet feet every single day. And I hated it. I hated it so much. Another thing our audience might not know from a sound format is I got me some giant knockers. So how do I choose?
And
Okay.
like this bra that I'm wearing right now, this is how I came up with it. My bra straps just kept
Ugh,
falling down, but it is
no.
the most comfortable bra I've ever worn in my life. So I'm like, can I put up with this for
Right.
having a comfortable bra?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
what am I willing to go through for comfort when it's also causing discomfort?
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. Okay, I think when I was younger, I think I would have had to choose socks because I I had to have those things strapped down. You
Right.
know, I was really uncomfortable with the boobies flying in the wind. But in my old age, I have become
You're geriatric.
like in my geriatric old woman state of life, I've become a little bit more comfortable with them doing kind of what they please. And so I'm going to say I could probably find a bra that I could more easily put up with the strap than having a wet feet all the time. So that's my final
Mhm.
answer. Do you agree?
You actually just reminded me. So earlier today, I was at a place, I won't go into it, but a woman approached me and she was like, "Ma'am, I'm really sorry. I think you might want to pull your dress down." And I was like, "Down?" And she like looked at me and she was like, "Oh, your hem is up and I can see like underneath the table." And I was like, "Oh shit, like thank you." But I was like, "You want to see my boobs?" Like,
Because I'll show you.
you seem very nice. I mean, we might as well share this right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there are
yeah.
other people here. Um, yeah, so that just reminded me of that. All right, do we want to do one more? Would you rather?
Yes, Pam. I want to finally do a dream scenario.
All right, let's see. This is our first dream. Would you rather a round trip flight to your chosen country or an all expense paid stay in your local area?
Oh, shoot. Well, I, as you may know, just today got back from a very beautiful camping trip not far from our hometown here in New York.
Yes,
And I love traveling to other countries. It is a huge passion of mine, and I've been very lucky to do so. But man, oh man, is upstate New York just one of the most beautiful places?
it is truly.
And I love it so much. So I have to go all expenses paid local because I think that I could really make the most of it. And as much I would love, there's so many places I want to see, but all of that comes with money. Gotta
Yeah,
spend a lot
no,
of money. So
100%.
I
I
think
was
I choose.
talking with my husband about that. I was kind of going over these with him, and he was like, "Well, what constitutes as the local area?" Because, like, here in Alaska, I just drove from where we live and work in the summer to where we live in the winter, and that was a 7-hour drive. So, is
Yeah,
that like
yeah,
within your
local.
local area?
Right? I think maybe local differs depending on what state you live in because
Yeah,
yeah.
because like and like we were talking about it with a couple of friends and they were like, well, is it state dependent? Because if it's Alaska, that's a lot of state that you have, but like if you're in New Jersey, that's a lot less state that you have. And if you're on the border with New Jersey, well, do some of the things in New York, or if you're closer to Pennsylvania, do some of the things in Pennsylvania count. So there's all these kind of extra layers to get
So
into.
true. It's true. And then there are states, yeah. Oh my gosh. I zoned out for a minute there. I agree. And that's all I have to say about it.
Let me ask you this question. If you were to choose the country, which you didn't, so you can't,
Mhm. Okay.
but what country is the top of your list right now?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. So the flight is paid for, which makes me think it's got to be a place that's expensive to get to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Maybe I'll go with. I have this thing where it's hard for me to pick because I don't want to go somewhere that's hot, but
Mm,
a lot of what I'm thinking right now is like South America and Asia. And
mm.
a lot of those places are pretty hot. Maybe Mongolia, Pam.
Ooh, Mongolia would be awesome.
Right? I want to do some like
And that would be a nice flight to get comped.
yeah, right? So maybe that would have been my answer.
Awesome. Cool beans. All right. So I should have, as you were talking about that, gotten into our advice, but I didn't do that. So I'm going to pull it up now.
Let's do it. So now we're going to get into a little advice segment where we go over some situations that people have gotten themselves in, and we give our 2 cents. Now, if you want our 2 cents on your situation, you can feel free to email us because we would love to talk about it.
Okay. So I have a couple of different ones here. There was one that I wanted to start out with because it was very much in our fields.
Tell me.
Okay, I've got it. It's quite long, so bear with me here. I'll try to pick out what I can.
All right.
My husband, she is 33, husband is also 33, have been together for 7 years, married for 5 later this year. We own a wonderful house, have 2 dogs who we love beyond measure, and he is truly my best friend. I've always known that I did not want kids and expressed this from day one. Before we got married or bought our house, I reiterated my stance and said that he needs to give me an official answer because I don't want you to change your mind 5 years from now and leave me. He always said kids seemed fun, but if the choice was to have kids or a life with me, he chose me. I always tried to initiate check-ins to make sure we're still on the same page, but he never wanted to actively participate in the conversation, just the same half-hearted answer of it would be fun, but I love you more. Well, now we are almost 5 years later, and I feel like a fool. We both have been working a lot for the past couple of months and felt like we weren't prioritizing our relationship. In trying to talk through how to reconnect or prioritize each other again, I blurted out that I feel he's not being honest with me on the kids issue. He finally admitted, yes, he wants a kid. I moved across the country for him and his career. I left my family and we live 10 minutes away from his, and his mom and siblings have been truly awful to me since day one. She says that I have nannied before and I know what it takes to take care of a kid, and he does not. So what do we have to say to that?
Oh my God, Pamela, I think you know that we have a lot to say about that.
So I want to start out by I can totally empathize with this woman because I've gone through a very similar thing with my husband where when we were first getting together, I was very anti-kids, but he told me from the start that he wanted kids. So there was nothing between us that this came up later. And I think that that's something that you really have to think about when you're making this decision because he has kept this from you. He hasn't been open about it with you. And my husband from the start was always like, I want kids. And for me, I always came from the position of you don't really want kids. You want what it looks like to have kids on the outside. So if we can get to the point where you want kids for the reasons that I think people should want kids, then I will have kids with you. But if we just want kids because of what having kids looks like to family and friends and the world, then we're not going to have kids. That's my stance on it. What do you think?
Well, oh my gosh, I have so many feelings. So you came almost the exact opposite from this woman in that her husband agreed not to have kids because being with her was more important than kids. Where I feel like once Kevin, or I don't know if you want me to say his name, once your husband, yeah. So once your husband kind of went through processes and work to understand more like we know, because both of us have been nannies.
Yeah.
Like we know what goes into having kids. You had decided, right, that okay, those are good reasons. And also I will have kids because I want to be with you, right? It's and you came to that conclusion.
And I don't want to speak out of turn for you, but did we both feel like the fathers in our nanny situations were not very hands-on? Or
no,
was
actually,
that just me?
The father in my nanny situation was very hands-on. They did very 50-50. So there wasn't that kind of dynamic in the family I worked for. But it more often is, right? That, like you're saying, men often don't understand the hard facts of what it is like to be in charge of a child.
Well, and even when they do, sometimes they don't actually take care of that child in the way they're supposed to. So the family that I nannied for, the father would literally brag about how he didn't have to do anything and people would still praise him. And his wife was like under this burden of taking care of the children. And like when you live in a situation like that, I lived with them for 6 months. You don't want to go through that yourself.
100%, right? And right, I definitely want to come off positive. I think as the generations go by, you see more and more dads who get it, who are doing the 50-50 work, who are hands on, who understand what it's like to be active in a child's life. It's beautiful to see. But I still think we live in a society where you have a huge number of men who go into parenting just figuring that their
Yeah.
female partner will be doing all this work. And
Yeah.
I, far be it for me to think about kids when, no, I guess not. There's plenty of single parent. I could never be a single parent, and there are plenty of partnered women who are. So like, it
Yeah.
was never
No,
something
100%.
never something I could get into. But I also feel, because we have a friend who I feel has a similar scenario that I don't want to touch on too much, but something that I think ties into this is it's a little bit different when, because of all these reasons, it's a little bit different when a man versus a woman change their mind in a heterosexual relationship. Just in that, I do think women going into parenthood always expect to be the primary caregiver.
Yeah. And they also have to carry the child. So you're not
Yes.
just asking like, "Hey, can we pick up a puppy from the store?" You're saying like, "Will you go through a pregnancy for 9 months of your life, completely change your body, completely change like your physiology, and then do that again once you've given birth because your body has to go back to what it was before and probably never will go back to exactly the same as it was before."
I so many of my friends who are moms, just I'm thinking of one friend in particular who just does not feel like the same person at all before and
Yeah.
after pregnancy. And that's a lot to ask of a person. And yeah, I feel like,
Well, I will say like in the agreement between me and my husband, what we ended up deciding was that we would have children, but I would not carry a child. And the reason for that is because for me, I can't I can't make the connection between me and pregnancy. And if I were to get pregnant, I know that that's something I would regret every single day of the pregnancy and every single day following the pregnancy, because whether or not I go back to who I was before, I will have been changed. And you can't take that. You just can't take that back. You can't
totally,
take something like a pregnancy back.
it's so existential, Pam. Yes. So yeah, this person, I totally feel for what they're going through. And when I think about, as a kind of perpetually single person, when I think about marriage and partnership, it's these are things that come up, right? Like no matter how long you've been married, people's minds change and people change. And so
100%.
there's no like, well, you should have, you could have, he should have, like all that is maybe just kind of, I don't know, it's
It's like
almost
you can say could have, would have, should have, but that didn't happen. So here we are now. We're at the standpoint. What are we going to do from here? Because like anyone can say he should have brought up earlier that he wanted kids, but maybe he truly didn't think he wanted kids and now is feeling that way.
exactly. So I would say my advice is she has to determine what the rest of her what she wants the rest of her life to look like, right?
Mhm.
And what she's willing to sacrifice and what she's willing to not sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's totally valid to say, we did get married and we kind of promised ourselves to each other, but now things have changed. And
Yeah.
things that you want for your life is not what I want for my life. And you can absolutely stay with me and not have kids, or we can go our separate ways if this is too much of a difference. But I
Yeah.
think it's just as valid to say maybe I am willing to compromise in some ways, right? Maybe we try fostering, see how he feels about that. And I understand that's a whole other bag
Yeah,
of
yeah.
worms. You don't just foster as a trial run, but it's,
Well, but
there
that's
are,
something that you could do that's not having children. That's
right.
seeing if you're prepared to be a parent. And
Yeah.
the whole
And
process, even to go through fostering, will put you into these situations where you have to make decisions like you already are parents.
right.
So I think that's a great idea, honestly.
Right. And yeah, and it allows a child to be in your life in another way. It allows you to have a positive influence on a child's life. All these other things. And going through adoption, going through surrogacy, there are other options. And then maybe, getting pregnant and having a child is not a hard no. And maybe she is willing to do that for the relationship. And I think it comes down to what do I see for my life and what can I compromise on,
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, our next advice, and I think this is going to be our last for today, but we have I lost a lot of friends from doing drug use. I turned my life around, but I'm not rich. Should I go to my high school reunion? I want to see old friends, but I feel that they will see me as an old druggie from high school and not the college graduate who is in a STEM career field. Should I say fuck it and go?
Dang, Pam. Well, what do you think? What do you think about this?
Well, like, I think about we didn't go to our high school reunion when it happened. I think it was around COVID.
Yeah, 2021 was not the best. Gathering, large gatherings.
But I've always like kind of floated this idea in my mind, like, do I want to go to any high school reunions in the future? And I think ultimately it comes down to if my friends are going, because I know that we would have a good time. And I think like there are people from high school who I think it would be really cool to see where they are now. And like I have acquaintances and stuff who I don't really keep up with. But for the most part, like people who I do really care about, I know where they are. I know what's going on in their life. So I don't really need the high school reunion. And I don't feel that the high school reunion is going to bring me anything. So it comes down to me for whether or not I would have fun. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, not to brag on us too much, but I think it's a rare thing to kind of still be friends with most of your high school friends.
Yeah.
We keep in very regular touch with probably over 80%. Maybe that's not true, but a huge,
No, I think 80% is a pretty good.
right? Like there are some people who fell out of touch, but most of the people we were super close with, we still are. Brag. But I think the and of course, we are coming at this from people as people who have not been addicts, right?
Yeah.
Severely addicted to drugs, but to come at should I do this thing based on what other people are going to think is kind of universally, known to be like maybe not how you should be
Yeah.
framing it, right?
No,
Like
definitely.
is this person interested in seeing anyone at this place? Because if yes, go. Do you think
Yeah.
you might have a good time? Do you think you would regret not going? Because I think it's such an amazing thing to overcome addiction. I mean,
Yeah.
one of yeah, and beyond that, right? Like you've what you've overcome and what you've done and what you've made of yourself.
Yeah. And other people's opinions, I mean, don't really matter. I mean, these are just people who you went to high school with. It's just about where you grew up. It's not like there's not any sort
Yeah,
of like we put you here to prove that you could be the best person that you could be. And like that's not the point of how you go to school.
totally. And I think too, like on the flip side of that, if you're thinking of going just out of obligation and you think it would be a bad time, you think you would feel uncomfortable and you wouldn't have fun and there's no one there you want to see, then of course don't go. Like
Yeah.
why would you go? But yeah, right? I think our consensus is if you are interested at all, right? Why wouldn't you check it out?
Yeah. All right. I think we answered those questions to the best of our ability. And in the future, if you have something that you want to ask us, you can reach out to us at psdonttell. That's psdonttell, all as one, all lowercase, at gmail.com.
Can't wait to hear from you.
Yes. Looking forward to seeing what people have to talk about. And I think for us, Stephanie, that's going to be the end of the sleepover.
Pam, this was such an excellent night of no sleep, eating popcorn, staying up late, and telling secrets. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for our very first episode. Pack up your bags, go home, take a nap, and P.S. don't tell.